Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
And welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know who I am. You know what I'm here to do. Thank you guys for joining us. Today is somewhat of an emergency podcast. It is the blessings of how the universe works out. I had two guests that were supposed to do Sunday and then Monday, and they both canceled on me. But luckily, I got hit up by an author who wanted to come on and talk about some amazing stuff. So today we're going to get into a little fifth dimension stuff, which is kind of interesting because that's been trending on Twitter. And apparently there's a band called the Fifth Dimension. But either way, I thought that was a little God struck right there, a little God shot. Guys, if you are in Washington, I, Eddie Bravo, and my good friend Xavier Guerrero will be live at the Tacoma and Spokane Comedy Clubs. That's right. We will be live at the Spokane Comedy Club July 17th. That's a 10 p.m. show. Go to SpokaneComedyClub.com. And then the next day, we're at the Tacoma Comedy Club. I really enjoy these shows, by the way, the 420 shows. I really enjoy them. They're very, you think, oh, who wants to see comedy during the day? But they're great, man. And I enjoy them. So that will be you can buy your tickets at the Tacoma Comedy Club.com. We have Dallas dates coming up. We have Houston dates coming up. We have Alaskan dates coming up. And we're working on getting back to Chicago, so stay tuned. All those dates can always be found at samtripoli.com. Now, if you want some of these T-shirts, such as Why Such a Sheep and all that, please go to tinfoilhattshirts.com. And all of our T-shirts are there, bandanas, whatever you want, all there. It's a great way to support the show. The Tinfoil Hat Patreon is on fire. Daily doses every day. I can't turn on ESPN. I can't turn on the news without getting just hit with this kind of psyop that they're pushing on us right now. So I decided to do daily half an hour shows to give you your kind of fix, a counter to what's being trying to shove down your throat. Just go to Tinfoil Hat T-shirts. Go to patreon.com/tinfoil hat, and you will in fact be able to get your daily doses there. And then my new podcast, which is called Zero, it will be available on Rockfin. So you just got to go to rockfin.com/zero, and you'll do it. And that'll be my spiritual podcast, which our guest here today is going to be one of our first guests. But she sent me an email describing what she's into and what she could talk about. And before the show, she said she could break me down. So I'm super excited to have her on. Please welcome. Oh, real quick, Johnny, thank you for coming. Good to see you again. Broken Simulation is on its way.
Well, we just put out an episode 3 days ago. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, 4 days ago.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We recorded another one. Again, super excited about having our guest on. She's a Buddhist author. Please welcome Vaughn Galt. How are you, Vaughn? Good to see you.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for the Archangels and Masters for clearing your calendar and sliding me in.
I love it
happens
very
all the time.
much. Buddhism is such an interesting religion. We hear a lot about it, but I don't know how many people actually study what it is, what its beliefs are. I think we just all believe there's a bunch of monks out there that know Kung Fu and can steal a pebble from your hand. And what are they really about? Tell us a little bit real quick about you, your books, and just a general understanding of who Vaughn Galt is.
Sure. So, there's nothing magical about me. I'm actually a normal, very normal working mom. I work in the IT profession, and I have 2 young children and a wonderful husband. And on the side, one of the things that I love to do is I love to write books. It's actually my meditation. And I like to write books on things that are interesting to me. And metaphysics is something that's always interesting to me because of my upbringing. I was raised as a Tibetan Buddhist, so I'm very familiar with the metaphysics and studying consciousness through that tradition. And growing up, it's just a normal part of just my everyday. Um, However, about 20 years ago, I follow many prominent monks just to see and learn new information. 20 years ago, the Dalai Lama, as well as many other prominent monks, started to collaborate with academia in the West and around the world. And what they were interested in knowing is they were interested in putting against science, to science, more information about mindfulness and its benefits, about consciousness, about just kind of our current reality, and just to find out, is the stuff that Buddhism has been talking about for over 2,500 years and beyond, all the way back to the Vedas of Hinduism, which it's an offshoot of, but is the content that we talk about and study, would it match up to the science that we have today? And much of it does, and which is wonderful. And so in doing 20 years of research in mindfulness, consciousness, and this whole grand experiment that we're in this holographic reality, it made way to birth a book, which is published, which is, I wrote 2 Buddhism books. And one is Buddhist Guide to Manifest Parallel Realities, using the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path in the Age of Consciousness. And that book is a very basic framework for the basic concepts that the first Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, had founded through his practice. And by using the 4 Noble Truths and Eightfold Path in that book, you will change your frequency in your life to match the parallel reality that is in line with what you are supposed to experience. So you have to do a little bit of footwork. So that's that book. And then I just recently published another book, and this is after 20 years of research. And this book is Buddhist Mandalas Explore Parallel Realities with Sacred Geometry. And the fascinating thing about that book is over the course of 20 years, I had my normal life. I'm, single girl, working, going to college, all these other things, looking for cute boys to meet. This is the normal American gal. But the interesting thing is I've always been fascinated with sacred geometry and the art history.
What is sacred geometry,
Sacred geometry, yeah, and the art history in Buddhist mandalas. And so over the course of 20 years of researching all the scientific material coming through the collaboration between Buddhist monks and science, it actually gave me all the research to prove that all sacred geometry in many of the world's religions all talk about the same thing that has been depicted in Buddhist mandalas artwork that we've seen over the ages.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and just really quick about that book is, when you read it, it's all scientific to explain that, but studying sacred geometry is a tool that can help you rewire your consciousness so that you can be of the frequency that aligns to a higher dimension. And this kind of goes into the topic for today.
Okay, I love all this. This is so interesting. What is sacred geometry?
Yeah, so sacred geometry is a word for your Merkaba. Okay, and what a Merkaba is, and you're probably familiar with the term Merkaba or Merkaba, because it's from the Kabbalah books in Judaism. But basically, it is sacred geometry, and sacred geometry is people. Every single person, every sentient being is energy. Because in the Buddhist perspective, none of this is really real. It's all a holographic portrayal that we are playing in. We're playing in this big game. And what really is real is energy. So we are all energy. And every single person has a unique energy signature. Okay. And you can actually find this out in science through semantics research, where you will speak and your voice put into a cymoscope in sound research will show a unique mandala that is unique to you. It is your energetic DNA, and everybody has a unique one. And so for Buddhists, the path of awakening and raising and ascending up the levels of consciousness perfects your Merkaba. And that Merkaba, that consciousness, is the pathway to different parallel realities and dimensions. And that is where higher beings reside and communicate with you through.
It's so interesting, man. That is so interesting. So some of our most ancient philosophies and religion, pretty much before even the term sci-fi even existed, is pretty much talking about stuff that we hear all the time in our sci-fi movies, which is multiple dimensions, different realities. I just tell people, it's like, I know this is a conspiracy podcast, and that may not necessarily be what you are particularly into, but I always say the world is so much more interesting than anybody would ever really understand if all you do is sit down and you just watch the news and get your information from the mainstream media. I've always said this as well, that I believe that the laws of physics were created to keep us boxed into a certain reality, and that if something doesn't fall into that reality, it gets dismissed. But there are things that almost become unexplainable that are truly part of our world and our universe and our existence. And the notion of like higher planes and multiple dimensions and different realities is so astonishing to me. And it makes me think there's, I know, Carl Sagan once said that, talked about the pale blue dot and this little dot that all these warlords are fighting over. But the notion that these people are fighting over this reality when there's so many more realities and such higher planes of existence to get to, and the fight over this little existence and to bring so much pain and suffering to everybody is just mind-blowing to me. What are the different realities? What are the different, what is Buddhist's understanding of the fifth dimension?
Okay. So, and with due respect with the different conspiracy theories and all that, because I do enjoy my good conspiracy theories. I do love the cabal stuff, and I love the reptilians and all this other. Entertaining, just very entertaining. Sometimes I switch off and go into that just for my own just amusement. But in the grand scheme of it, they're all just games, and we're just children playing game in a holographic reality. And sometimes when you're playing a game that you're really interested in, you forget that you're in the game. It's like we're playing this virtual reality game, and we got so caught up in our roles and the story that we play that we forgot the greater truth, which is that we're all souls choosing to have this experience for our own spiritual growth and for our own entertainment as well. And so in Buddhism, everybody incarnates into a lifetime. We all chose to be humans at this time during Earth's ascension to the fifth dimensional parallel reality. Okay? But when you come into Earth, you don't have memory of all your other past experiences before this incarnation so that you can focus on this one. It's kind of like it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers. Okay? So everybody is born into their roles, and one of the first things that Buddhists try to do is have their awakening. And an awakening is very simple. An awakening is someone who realizes that they exist in a holographic reality that is responding to the commands of its user. It's like a virtual video game. Okay?
So I'm an avatar?
Yes. So everyone is playing because like I said earlier, everybody is a Merkaba. They're all energy. So if you're energy, you don't really have a physical anything. Okay, that's why it's the holographic reality of the consciousness. Okay, so your awakenings. When somebody has their awakening, they realize that their user in a holographic reality that is responding to the commands of their consciousness. Then what they can do is they can work on ascending up the levels of consciousness all the way up to Buddhahood, which is when you basically overcome the game. You go back to the void, the 0 point, and you go back to be reabsorbed with the consciousness of the Lord. So that's a whole different topic. But in terms of your ascension, basically you're raising your energetic frequency, like your Merkaba, living the best version of you. And by living the best version of you, you positively affect yourself and those around you.
Yes.
Okay? And the parallel reality has no choice but to match you. You just shift. That's why they call it. You don't travel anywhere. It's the shift. It just happens in a split second. All of a sudden, see some Mandela effect residue.
Holy shit! So am I living in the parallel universe? Is there a parallel universe of me, or if I have my shift, it affects another universe or another reality, or what does that do?
Right, so we get into the topics of parallel realities, and in terms of like Buddhist artwork, and you see this in Hindu artwork as well, where they will have the image of the avatar, and then they'll have multiple versions of avatars. It kind of split off into the ethers. And that is their 3D art in ancient times of trying to explain this complex subject of how consciousness changes your physical reality.
Oh my God.
Okay. So let me tell you, you've had physical reality changes. The fun stuff, Berenstain Bears. Do you remember Jane Goodall had passed away many years ago?
Yeah.
She's alive now.
What?
Parallel people.
So you're talking about when they're talking about CERN ripping a fabric, that's not true. It's just our energies affect this reality.
I had done some studies in CERN, and that could possibly be true for maybe some realities, but not all realities. It is consciousness that is doing it. It is the conscious. Let me explain what consciousness is. So the Buddhist understanding consciousness, and this has also been proven in science in my Buddhist Mandalas book. There is really only one person here. It is the universal one mind, is what Buddhists call. All Buddhist monks call it the universal one mind. You can call it God. You can call it the Oversoul. You can call it the universe. It doesn't really matter what you call this consciousness, but it is this one stream of consciousness that decided to split off into multiple facets of itself in order to experience itself firsthand through its own creations. Now, it will not make any decisions or dictate what its creations do, because there will be no fun if it never learns and grows on its own. So it just watches.
Oh my God.
Proven this in science as well, that that goes to everyone. And every single thing is all connected. So like when you hurt, they did this in Buddha's Brain, in the book Buddha's Brain. Dr. Rick Hansen had summarized a lot of this mindfulness research for that book. And what they found in studying meditation is that when somebody who's hooked up on a brain scan machine is hurting somebody else, that other person feels the pain as if you're hurting them. So they're aging and suffering at the same time that somebody else. That's why sometimes you can't watch somebody else be hurt, because it hurts you, and it really does. That's why you're connected. You're all connected.
Real quick, would you say that applies to media? Like, should we be careful about what we consume for that reason? Like, should we be careful not to watch violent imagery because that affects us in that way?
Yes, people who watch lots of violent stuff, a lot of negativity, age faster and get sick more often.
So interesting. I think you're converting me to Buddhism.
There's nothing to convert. Buddhism is actually not a religion. It's a philosophy for life. So, but the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths is actually very logical.
What? Can you explain to me what the Four Noble Truths are?
Yes. So the Four Noble Truths is the foundation of Buddhism. Okay, there's a lot of other literature and philosophies that have been added on to Buddhism and to the canon. And a lot of the modern science is also added to the canon as well, to kind of further substantiate and clarify some of the ancient understandings about our metaphysical universe. But Siddhartha Gautama, the founder of Buddhism, he's actually a prince from an Aryan Hindu Indian family, and he split off and started this offshoot of Buddhism. And it's based off these Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path. And basically what he found, and you could do this yourself, is and through applying these principles to the issues that are holding down your energy from reaching higher levels of consciousness and perfecting that Merkaba, by removing these abundance blocks, you will radiate at a higher frequency. So real quick, because you cut out again, but if we apply, what did Buddha say to apply? Because that was the one part that you cut out on. Okay. When you said these Four Noble Truths, if you apply this to your own life, you could find out what was that you want us to apply? Right. So it's the basic fundamentals of Buddhism, which the founder discovered, which is the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths. And it's a simple tool that anybody can use in any tradition. It's a nice add-on. And basically it's this. The Four Noble Truths is 1, life is suffering. Okay, if you're living, you're going to suffer, you're going to age, you're going to feel some pain. Okay, it's a meat pack. It's just, you can't get away from it, okay? All right, so that's the first noble truth. Life is suffering. You could suffer less, though. Number two, attachment causes suffering. Okay, and people are attached to not just physical things that cause them suffering. They can be attached to the concept or an idea of something. They can be attached to what was and is not here anymore. They can be attached to a dream that is not realistic. There's a lot of different ways that people get attached. And because it doesn't fit in that box, it causes their suffering. So that's number 2. Noble truth number 3 is that insights remove suffering. So you will suffer less if you knew a little bit more background to how it came about, and then you get some understanding. So insights remove suffering. And then the fourth and last noble truth is that living the eightfold path ends suffering. Okay?
And what is that path?
The eightfold path is very logical, nothing religious about it. The first path is correct thought. Are you thinking correctly about the problem that you're suffering with? All right? Are you seeing clearly? The next one is correct speech. Are you speaking about it appropriately? Okay. The third one is correct action. Are you acting in a manner that is supporting that suffering or addressing it so that it no longer is an issue? The next one is correct livelihood. Are you living in a way that supports the suffering?
I need to hear all this, man. It is so,
The
and
connection is-
even if the internet is choppy, it's so like everything just starts to make so much sense. And it's just like, I just take a look at the world right now and just, it's like, everybody wants to get rid of this is a very idealistic thought. And it sounds like it should be like, we want to get rid of racism, right? We want to get rid of racism. And I'm like, that's great. I agree with you. But the notion that you're going to get everybody to agree on anything is just going to, and then it's what we're talking about. Like, there's gonna be suffrage. You're going to suffer, and like the key isn't to like wallow in it. The key is to learn from it and grow from it and take that. So it's like, like everything. Man, it's so interesting, dude. It's like my view of the world before I started this podcast versus like now, and even before I just started having a conversation with you, my view of the world was different. And it's just, to me, it's just like we are teaching all the wrong things, and we're setting people up to just live in misery. And in reality it's like so much of what you're talking about is like suffering is part of life. Life will be suffering. You will suffer, and the key is to learn from suffering. But are you doing things to learn from suffering, change up the suffering, owning your suffering? Like that to me is like and it's so interesting because, I'm in recovery and I deal with recovery and I struggle with recovery, a lot. And, but everything I learn in recovery is the exact opposite of everything that I learn in political correctness. And political correctness is like, these are the good people. These are the bad people. These are the good words. These are the bad words. And, and just like, these people are holding me down, and these people are causing my problems, and these people are the reason why I can't be happy, and these are the reason why I can't live my dreams, man. And it's just like, just this little conversation I've had with you is just like really opened my mind that this is just like the wrong way to live your life.
Getting caught up in your story.
Yes. Yes.
So, yes. And then and aside from correct livelihood, there's also correct understanding. Like you're not getting a full understanding of why things are. If you got a full understanding of why things are, maybe you would suffer less. The next one is the sixth one is correct effort. Are you making the correct effort towards working towards the things that you want to experience? It's not just going to happen. You have to make the effort, which goes into the next eightfold path, which is the seventh, which is the correct concentration. When you're in those opportunities to manifest the next best experience that you want to experience, are you in the game? Are you concentrating in the things that you're doing so that you do a good job? And then the very last one is correct mindfulness. Are you mindful of these things? Are you mindful of the story that you're playing into? So that's the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths. I actually go into it in very deep detail with real life examples that are very, very common in my book, Buddhist Guide to Manifest Parallel Realities.
I'm going to be reading all your stuff. Now,
Sure.
not only have you blown my mind with just this stuff, and to the point, like, and I cannot wait to interview you on Zero on Rockfin.
We can go beyond the 0 point and go to infinite love.
Yeah, man, I'm all about that action. But now I want to get into something that, when we do, the reason I want to start a spiritual podcast is because sometimes on this particular podcast, if you get away from conspiracies, I get it. They come to Tinfoil Hat to hear the conspiracies. I get it, and I have no problems with it. I'm very thankful that everybody listens to it. I always want to, I'm so thankful to the listeners. They're called the Swarm. I'm so thankful for them. I always want to give to them, anything that can help them change their life and go, and change the direction of their life. And that's a lot of stuff that you've been talking about so far. But now I want to get into something called Starseeds. What are your thoughts on what is Starseeds, and what do you think? What does it represent?
Okay. So this is just a new word for a very old concept. Actually, Yeshua was a starseed. But basically,
Yeshua, who's Yeshua?
he's what you would call Jesus.
What? Now we're in it. That's what, Daddy. That's what you come for. This is the second time we've talked about it. Alien stars. Jesus is an alien. Is that what you're saying?
There really are no aliens. There's just souls.
And he's an alien soul.
They just had different incarnations in different planet systems, universes, multiverses, dimensions. We gotta, you're thinking in 3D reality, my love. If you go further into Buddhism, there's levels up and there's parallel levels out.
Are there levels down? Because there's what? So
oh
above,
yeah. Lower consciousness is just finding new ways to beat and bruise and kill each other.
Oh
and some people like that, and that's what. And there's different games in the universe. Some people like different things. I don't like all that. I like the higher stuff. I want to have my mind blown.
Yeah. So we're not. So when we say Jesus is a starseed, he is an. Are we saying alien? Are we saying interdimensional traveler? What are we talking?
Okay, so let me explain. Let me just explain it a little bit more. So, because once you understand everything, it all makes sense. You're like, oh, that makes sense. So basically, in Buddhism, we have this belief in the golden age of humanity. Okay, and the golden age of humanity is a age where we kind of move, we kind of grow up, and we go into our galactic age, where we finally have the consciousness to be able to communicate with beings of different dimensions, different universes, different parallel realities. Okay, so all these concepts that change your everyday, how consciousness changes reality and puts you into a frequency that manifests a parallel reality. Those are just basics to get you to the point that you can open up to a bigger world. Okay, and we have been waiting a very long time to get to that consciousness. So basically, what is the golden age of humanity? So between 2010 to 2012, and Buddhism was one of the very last traditions to complete their awakening ceremonies worldwide. But there were plenty of other indigenous traditions worldwide that were doing their awakening ceremonies. The chiefs of the Easter Islands, chiefs of different Native American tribes, chiefs of the Mayans, and of course Buddhism. And we had held this for a very long time, waiting to close out the cycle of polarity. And we closed it out around the end of 2012. So it was not Armageddon. It was just the close of a cycle of polarity, of seeing separatism, seeing differences. And what it did was it just kind of signaled the welcoming of a new energy to the world, which is the energy of unity consciousness. And unity consciousness is a fifth dimensional energy. So it's kind of like if you're in a boat in the water and you're doing what you normally do and the wind changes and picks up, and you're doing the same thing expecting the same result and it's not happening, you're getting frustrated. Well, maybe you need to realize that the energy has changed. Put your sails up and then change the way in which you sail so that you can have a better experience. And that's what we did, is the energy of this planet has changed to a higher dimension, and it's doing it in small bits. It's doing it small bits. So what the Buddhist and many indigenous cultures around the world did is they closed out the cycle and they just waited for Earth to do her thing. Nobody knew exactly what was going to happen. They didn't know what this golden age of humanity that we've been waiting for is going to look like, how it's going to play out. Nobody knew. But what ended up happening is because, like, I have been studying 20 years of scientific research in this area, is we know that the Earth's energy has changed through Schumann resonance. And what the Schumann resonance is, it's actually it's a scientific project since 1999. Heart Math Institute, and then the astronaut Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who started the Institute of Noetic Sciences, they worked with Princeton University to put like 70 or more random number generators all over the world, and they function like a seismology machine. So they kind of measure the energy, and basically when the energy of the Earth changes and she has her spikes, the heartbeat of the Earth is typically 7.83 hertz. Okay, and the reason why when she has her spikes, when an upcoming like natural disaster or tsunami or some kind of big upheaval going on that's affecting the hearts of all the people in the area, when she has her spikes, it sends out this magnetic field and it affects all the animals. And so, people go restless, their back hurts, they can't sleep, they're having all these weird, because, like animals who know when a natural disaster is going to happen, they all squirrel in the wild and start trying to find shelter because they can feel the energy is changing.
Yes.
And that's what the Schumann resonance and the Heart Math Institute of the Global Consciousness Project has been doing since 1999, is measure these peaks. And whenever they measure these peaks in the Earth's magnetics, what they found is a natural disaster will happen within hours of it. Some big impending thing will happen. Like it measured 9/11 4 hours before it happened.
Oh my God.
And actually, like a lot of people who are really in touch with nature, like myself, I had images of 9/11 2 days before. So just like an animal, I was already sensing something's going to happen. So it measured 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, all these different things around the world. Wherever that random number generator in the world is located at, it's measuring the energy. So the energy of the Earth, and then people, your heart energy is like 5,000 times stronger than your brain energy. So when you have all these people in the area feeling this great emotion over something, the Earth is going to feel that as well, and she's going to react to it as well. So
Is the Earth alive? Is the Earth alive?
The Earth is alive, and that's how we know that the Earth is alive, because she's responding to things as well. So the point that I make with why we use the Schumann resonance as our indicator that something's happening with the Earth is because it's kind of like the analogy of TV, okay? Because we're talking consciousness. When you're looking at an old TV, it's maybe 24 frames per second, 24 hertz per second, okay? It's a slow-moving frame. You can see the pictures change, okay, because it's slow. But when you upgrade to a brand new TV that has faster resolution, the frames switch faster, you're going to get a resolution quality of maybe 60 to 100 hertz per second. So the picture quality is going to change so much faster that you're not going to notice the differences. And so how that translates to the Schumann resonance and the heartbeat of the Earth skipping and making these big leaps is she used to be 7.83 for a very long time. And then she's having these, spikes that go up to 14 hertz. And people, like with 9/11, and people were like, wow, she's really going there. She's going to 14 hertz. And then she went to 20, and then she went to 30. And people were just going, wow, she's never done anything for millions of years. And now all of a sudden she's changing her frequency. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, those were great when we didn't have those numbers. But now, instead of doing baby steps, she is switching and spiking up into leaps. She's going 50, 60, 100, 160 hertz leaps. And what happens when she takes the leaps is it's affecting us like so.
So these giant leaps you're saying, because you cut off, is the Earth's energy is affecting us.
Yes. We're connected. We're all one. There's that unified energy that is in every sentient being. Everything that is alive has the same universal one mind in it, including the Earth. Okay? And what happens is just like when you have a slower TV that has a slow resolution, a lower hertz as compared to a newer TV, when she has these big jumps, she is raising her energy so much that the picture quality is changing so fast. And so if you are working on your awakening and ascension, you typically would see the changes, but now it's happening so much faster that you can't see those warps ins and outs. You just, all of a sudden, you just notice something different in your reality where your neighbor's dog's a different color.
Oh my God, that's
your
so
house. Yeah, your house, all of a sudden, what you finished working on is no longer there. The shrubbery on your neighbor's yard that used to be barren is now full.
And you're like, how does that possible? And you're like, well, because your consciousness has changed. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So yes, and I have this in my book, Buddhist Mandalas. But basically, they have shown in scientific research through studying light frequencies that they can take the sound, the light sound of like a salamander embryo, and shine that laser with that DNA code, the light DNA code, into a chicken egg, and the chicken egg will birth a salamander.
What?
So what that tells us is that when you change the frequency and the energy, you also affect the DNA. So we are all getting affected, and we're all getting upgraded. Now, here's the thing that's different. Here's the thing. Here's the caveat with the energies of the fifth dimension that we have been waiting to bring us further in to the fifth dimension, is that it works like a amplifier, like a catalyst. There's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong way to explore parallel realities. But whatever you are, it's going to bring that up. Just kind of like it's going in and taking all the gunk from the bottom of the sea and bringing it all up. Okay? So if you are a negative person, it's going to bring up all your negative skeletons in the closet for you to solve.
100%. I believe all of this. It's like there is no reality. There's only perception, and what you choose to perceive becomes your reality, right? I mean, there's 1,000 things going on. Like this interview, we'll have some choppy moments, and I could be all upset that we're having these choppy moments in this internet, or I could be like, focus on like when you are rocking for big chunks. It's such an amazing thing to be hearing. And I can focus on that, right? Instead of being like, oh, there's these moments and blah. It's like through editing, we're going to clean it up the best we can. And I know people are going to love it. Focus on the positive of that and the positive vibrations instead of focusing on the negative vibrations. It's so interesting because I bring
Yeah.
this up all the time that, you know, I had a cousin who almost got murdered, and, you know, she's really down in the dumps, and she just had nobody around her to tell her all the things that you're saying right now. And like how, like, there's so many people out there that if they just understood that, like, there's no reality, there's only perception. And if you change your perception, you can change your life. I always say, people, your life can be 180 in 1 year if you just change the way you, going back to the list of rules you've said, if you just change the way you operate and you engage and the energy you put out, is 100% true. It's unbelievable. It's like you've really crystallized a lot of stuff that we've been talking about on the show and some of the episodes where I know that, we're talking aliens here, so everyone's okay. But like, there's a lot of discussion about like just changing your life, and like you've really solidified a lot of that, man. I really appreciate it.
It's a framework. It's a framework. So awakening and ascension. We're still kind of going through the awakening and ascension. But basically, whenever Earth has her spikes, it's going to bring up all of what you are. If you've already dealt with all those repressed issues, then there's nothing to bring up. And so all it's going to do is bring up what you are, which is positive and optimistic. And so if you're artistic, it's going to make you even more artistic. It's going to make you even more creative. It's going to make opportunities come to you even more because that's what you are. It's an amplifier. Okay, and when they
Mother Nature's energy is an amplifier.
Exactly, it's an amplifier. And so when they did studies in the Schumann resonance and they looked at the spikes in history, what they found is whenever she does her spikes and she raises her magnetic energy, you found major wars were happening. At the same time, you found Renaissance was happening.
Is that kind of what's going on right now?
That's exactly what's going on. It's amplifying what you are. So it's giving you an opportunity. In Buddhism, they call it's the purification. Okay, it's the burn through fire. Okay, however you want to term it, it's your opportunity to clear out all that negative gunk and repressed issues you've been dealing with and holding down your whole life. It's bringing it all up. Your skeletons in your closet, all your bad deeds, all your unresolved issues, all your issues with certain people. It's bringing it all up. That's why it's all coming up. So you got to work on it, because if you don't work on it, it's going to keep you in a lower frequency. But if you do work on those repressed issues, you're going to remove that abundance block in your energy. And so then you're going to be what you naturally are, which is a higher frequency being.
Real quick, I just want to ask something. When you work on your negative, do you think that these powers that be are trying to hold on to the old ways? And they
don't have any power. No one has any power over your consciousness.
Yeah, man, I keep telling people that, man.
You have just this meditation research when they studied Buddha's brain, and they studied all these different monks and nuns meditating, that they get into this energy frequency called gamma wave. And gamma wave is like 120 hertz or higher. Remember when I was talking about the Schumann resonance and Earth's heartbeat going at much higher hertz, much higher peaks, and the picture quality changing so much faster that you can't really see the difference in your reality except for residue from your own personal Mandela effects? Well, people who are high consciousness and send out, and you do this with meditation, that's why they meditate a lot, you send out these gamma wave frequencies. These are the higher energy frequencies that change the picture quality of reality. And they found this in meditation research as well, that it only takes 1% of humanity to emit these gamma wave frequencies to change 99%. So all you 99% are just reacting to that 1%. That's how powerful consciousness is. So no one has any power over you.
Interesting, man.
Let's get to the aliens, my love.
So, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about how we live many lives, and this is like, I don't know, a prison realm or almost where we're down to learn different things and another, which might not be the exact description, but do you believe this is like we live multiple lives to learn? I mean, you said that kind of earlier, but is that what basically we're talking about here? And if you don't do it right, you can actually regress into a lower life form and stuff like that?
Well, so the Buddhist perspective is that you are experiencing physicality for your own personal reasons, and sometimes some people come back with the same soul group to fix and do over experiences they want to correct, kind of right a wrong, and so they will come back in another lifetime and maybe switch roles or switch different factors of life to try to address something. But there are plenty of people who come just to experience just what this incarnation is and kind of have fun. There are plenty of souls that come here just to tour Earth and go and eat all the great food and go and see all the great islands and just have fun.
And hook up with our chicks, right? That's the big thing. That Anunnaki came and hooked up with our chicks, right? And
Earth
stuff
women
like,
are very beautiful.
Yeah, they are. Have you been to any higher realms in your meditation? Any of that? Have you talked to the interdimensional beings at all? Have you ever had any whoa, you did? What is that conversation like?
I'm talking to you. Let's talk to anybody else. So let me get to that. Okay, so we have established that in order to get to the frequency that you can communicate with beings of higher energy, which many other aliens are, you have to have your awakening. I know this is a big game, and work on your ascension. You have to be a higher calibrating consciousness. Okay, and you can actually look at the map of consciousness from Dr. David R. Hawkins. He actually gives a really great research on how to level up your consciousness. But one of the basic foundations is to be integrous. If you have integrity in your life, then you will naturally align yourself with things that are more positive, and you are a good barometer for, manifesting better experiences. So anyways, you have your awakening, you have your ascension, you raise your frequency. So here's the thing with the golden age of humanity that we'll be trying to get to. The golden age of humanity is we've crossed over into the fifth dimension. Those energies are coming in strong, and they're not coming in small bits anymore. They're coming in leaps, because Earth is moving into a parallel reality in the fifth dimension. And people of the fifth dimension radiate at much higher frequencies. Remember, they've all worked on their repressed issues. These have been worked on. They know how, they're conscious creators. They know how to play the game a little bit better. So anyways, when you get to those higher frequencies, then you can finally communicate with beings of higher frequency. And this is where starseeds come in. And we want to talk about starseeds. Earth, like I said, Earth is moving further and further into the fifth dimension, and you can tell this in science, moving further and further into the higher energies of the fifth dimension through the Schumann resonance. And when people have their awakening and they're working on their ascension to be more integrous and living at a higher frequency, then they're going to be at the energy level that they are able to communicate with beings of higher energy. And those beings of higher energy are what we call aliens. Okay?
Yes.
Now, before we could talk to aliens and have that golden age of humanity in interstellar commerce with other beings of the multiverse and multiple universes, we have to, again, work on awakening and ascension. But what is going on is, and Buddhists know this for a very long time as well, the universe, like I said, exists in everyone. And it's not going to tell you what to do, because then it won't really learn a lot about itself. It's going to let you kind of figure out. But you have lots of help.
We're entering the fifth dimension, you've been telling us, and and the people in the fifth dimension are of a higher frequency and a higher understanding of the universe. Is that correct? And
Yes.
star seeds are kind of what do they all represent?
So and like I said, when I do my research for my Buddhist mandalas book, I actually, one of the research that I go into is energy healing. And I'm familiar with Reiki from the Buddhist monk of Japan who discovered and, pioneered the Reiki energy healing. I'm familiar with Qigong. I'm familiar with the Eastern energy healing modalities, which I'm putting in my second Buddhist mandalas book. But I came across a lot of different new modalities in the West as well. And the one that I ended up settling and using for my private practice is QHHT. It is called Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And it was developed from a hypnotherapist and author, Dolores Cannon. She's passed now, but she spent 40 years developing and using this technique, and she's written many books about it. And so I use that technique because of one thing. It allows me the opportunity through the regressions that I facilitate for my clients. It provides me the opportunity to talk to the oversoul directly. So I talk to the universal one mind directly about the journey of that client and what they're working on. And it's the same consciousness in everybody. I have the same conversation and pick up from the same part from everybody. And actually the reason why I'm doing these kind of views is because about 6 months ago, Archangel Metatron started squatting in on my hypnosis sessions to try to get me into these things because I did not want to be on the limelight.
What
I didn't
did you
want to
just
be
say?
seen.
Hold on. I didn't mean to cut you off because you kind of. Did you just say the Archangel Megatron?
Metatron.
Not
Not Transformers.
Who is Metatron?
Metatron. Metatron is actually in the book Buddhist Mandalas. Metatron is an archangel, and in
is that
the spirit
good
world,
guy or bad guy?
Oh, he's a very good guy. He's actually one of the only archangels that we know of so far that actually incarnated as a human being once, maybe a couple times. But there's reference of Metatron in Islam. His name was Mitradish, I think it was. There's reference of him in Jewish.
Judaism?
Judaism. Yep. Metatron is in that. He was also referred to as Ezekiel in the Bible as well.
Oh,
so Metatron is an archangel, and he's popular for Metatron's cube, which is sacred geometry, and sacred geometry, which is like Buddhist mandalas, is typically referred to as Metatron because in the Bible, Ezekiel, when he had his awakening and ascension and revelation, he saw all of these sacred symbols, and so he would typically show everybody these sacred symbols with these philosophies through the study of sacred geometry. And so that's why sacred geometry is typically referred to as Metatron's cube. But
Metatron Q.
Metatron's cube.
Q.
Merkaba. Yeah.
Ah.
All right. So it's all in Buddhist people. Study sacred geometry. You rewire your consciousness. But anyways, so about 6 months ago, Metatron started squatting in on my QHHT sessions, which is funny because I was sitting there arguing with him through my client about.
This is nuts. This is nuts. This is nuts. This is the craziest, the most incredible episode. I'm just blown away by how good this episode is. And You really are amazing, and it just, I'm sorry that the connection's so crazy. I mean, it's just nuts, but man, I've learned so much in this.
We haven't even got to Starseeds.
I know, it's so crazy, but just the internet's just going nuts right now. Maybe we could set up a part 2 sooner than later, and I can do it off of a StreamYard or something like that.
YouTube Live. I've done YouTube Live.
I don't
know. You guys figure out the technology.
Yeah. It is so good. Now, so real quick, because I know as soon as we start talking about this, you're going to chop up. You were saying that you could break me down in 2 seconds in terms of like, I'm a good person, but I use this conspiracy as something. You don't have to break me down, but what are your thoughts? What were you saying about that?
That might be for the spiritual, the zero.
Yeah.
The zero, because that can go into a whole nother tangent where we just talk about the applying the Four Noble Truths Eightfold Path to manifest your personal
action. I'm all about that.
Yeah, because that will manifest your personal Mandela effect. So that can be.
All right.
But let's get back to the Starseeds.
Okay, Starseeds. Let's hear it.
Let's get back to the Starseeds mission on planet Earth and how they factor into the.
And Jesus was a starseed, and what are their roles?
Okay, so like I said, the prime directive is actually a real thing. Like you can't mess with.
Oh, you mean from Star Trek?
You can't. Yeah, like Star Trek. It's actually a real thing. The universal one mind in everybody does not want you to alter people's pre-life planning for their own spiritual evolution. So you can't just go in and just start telling them what to do. It's like you don't go into a kindergarten class and say, "Okay, kids, we're gonna start reading," and they're like, "What? I'm still trying to figure out how to play blocks."
Oh,
so you can't just go. So that's a thing with the universe, and you can try, and the universe will just make it not happen. Like you're not gonna get there. A car accident's gonna happen. You're gonna accidentally trip. It's not gonna happen. So it's a real thing. And Buddhists know this as well. So, we have to respect everybody's incarnation. It's part of their journey. Let them have their falls so they can get themselves back up and learn from that and grow from that. So it's a real thing. So these higher beings want to communicate with humanity so much, but there was a couple of things that are preventing that from happening. One, most of humanity is at a low energy, and they are a higher energy, so energy does not match. Okay, so you have to get to your awakening and raise your energetic frequency up the different levels of consciousness to can communicate their energy level, because you radiate at a higher frequency. They have a more solid Merkaba. Okay? So we have that level of consciousness, that energy level. And most of humanity is not there. Thank goodness for the 1%. So we have to get there. And so in order to get there, what they decided to do in the spirit world is they decided to send, in Buddhism, we call them the Tulku children, which are very, very old souls, to be born into the game so they can play and change the game from within the game.
Oh my God! That makes sense now.
Okay, that's why you never see aliens come in and do anything. They can't. It's the prime directive. The universe.
Who made that rule, though? Who made the rule? Who said they couldn't do that? Just the universe was like, nah.
The universe. The universe is like, you or me, and I want to see this creation grow on its own, through its own trials.
Yeah, that's just the rules of the realm, right? It's just like, yeah, you can't go in there and just tell them what to do. They have to discover it themselves.
Yep.
Oh, man.
That's the game. That's the game.
So people like Buddha, Jesus, Martin Luther King, all these people are born to show us how to change our, some people are going to go, Martin Luther King was CIA, but, it's like...
Martin Luther King's friend during the Civil Rights Movement and mentor was the Vietnamese monk, Buddhist monk, Tic Tac Knock.
Tic
When
Tac
he
Knock.
was younger. Yeah, when he was younger.
Oh,
Okay.
these are Starseeds that have come to help us with the game.
So Tulku children in Buddhism, it's just another word for starseed. It's basically really old souls that have come into the game with certain knowledge from the other side to bring with them. And in their life, they need to have their awakening and work on their ascension so that they can bring out that information that they had stored inside and brought with them. So, and make it and share it with everybody else. And through sharing their gift that they brought from the other side, they help everybody kind of raise their consciousness and raise their experience, kind of raise everybody into a better reality. Okay,
it's like unlocking things in video games. Like you have to earn something.
Yes.
They earn something, then they unlock this knowledge, and then they give it to the universe. Oh my God, that's so! And this is all in Buddhism.
Yes.
Wow.
We're just big programmers. We're big programmers. So, anyways, what I said earlier about being a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, which are many great practitioners across the country and the world that you can find through the DoloresCannon.com website. I practice here in my seaside home in Seattle, and the clients that I get typically are Starseeds or Tulku children.
What? Hold on. They go see you?
They usually, I don't really advertise. They usually find me through my website, the YouTube channel. I've had people go, I asked them, how did you find me? And they said, well, I went to the registry. I looked in my state. I just closed my eyes and I hit you. And it happened to be, you were the one that my computer hit on, and you were the only one that lived closest to me randomly. I've had somebody's mother call me to try to get a session for her son. And I said, how did you find me? And she said, well, I just, looked around and I just picked you for some reason. I liked your name. I picked you. My angels told me to click on it. So she clicked on it. She called me. And of everyone in Washington State on the registry, I was the only one, and it was nowhere in my profile. I was the only one who grew up in the town in which her son lives right now.
Wow.
I mean, there's so many of that stuff. I've had customers say, I was on Facebook, my computer crashed, I turned it on, all of a sudden one of your blog articles were up. So I went down that rabbit hole, and that's how I came across you.
Wow.
So, and so people's angels, their spirit guides, are sending them over to help them get to their awakening and ascension.
Do we all have spirit guides?
Yeah, everybody has spirit guides.
That they're helping us get to where we gotta go.
If you're in the position and you're ready to work with them, some people just don't want to. So, anyways, a lot of my clients who reach out to me for a hypnosis session, that's how they typically find me. But then also, those are typically really old souls that came here to be part of the ascension process of Earth and help move further into the fifth dimension, parallel reality. I also get people who are typically starseeds, and typically the starseeds is interesting. I've had customers who I have regressed, and one of their lifetimes they were a quote alien in another lifetime, and it's shown to them that they chose to be part of this experience and come and incarnate as a human being to help in this time for the transition to becoming a galactic golden age of humanity. Now, the thing is, they don't have any memory because they have to play the game like everybody else. So they have no memory of their past lives as Pleiadians, as elementals, as fairies, as Arcturians, as Andromedans, or anything else like that. But under hypnosis, I get, and I don't suggest anything. I just ask questions, and I I have some of those recordings on my YouTube channel as well. The ones that allow me to put it up there. But they reveal this information, and then afterward, I go and I fact check some of the material, and a lot of the scientific information is accurate. Yeah, I've had a client who was she was elemental. She was the ring of Saturn. And I asked her, what does it sound like to be a ring of Saturn? And she made this very unique kind of humming sound, like, and afterward, I went, and about 6 or 8 months before that, NASA had just recorded the first sound of what the ring of Saturn sounds like.
Yep.
And it's that sound. And this is a 60-year-old woman who is not interested in science. I have had somebody who was a Pleiadian in another lifetime incarnate here.
What's a Palladian?
From the Pleiades.
What is that?
So it's somebody these are star seeds, who had a previous life in another planet, another solar system. They're what you would call aliens. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with all these star seeds. And sometimes their star seed families will send them over to me to get a QHHT session. Okay, so I've had a client who he was an explorer in another lifetime of the different galaxies, and kind of a loner guy. And he had explored a planet where the beings were these gold energy beings. And weeks before that, I had a dream of these gold energy beings in my room, checking to make sure I was the right person. And I woke up and immediately and ran in the hallway to see who that was, because I'm very conscious in my dreams. So, and there was nobody there. So I thought, well, that was the most interesting lucid dream. And a couple of weeks later, this guy came in, and one of his lifetimes, he had ran across these beings, and they wanted to help him out with this lifetime, because his struggle was to try to understand people. He didn't really understand the concept of relationships and why people are the way they are, why are they so mean, all these different things that we do to each other makes absolutely no sense for him, because he's an explorer that explores all these different types of creations, kind of like Star Trek. So the concept of the 3D reality and 3D humans is just very foreign to him. So these gold beings sent him to me to get a regression so that he can uncover
Remember
the issues in what's that?
To remember where he's from and
To
who
remember
he is?
to remember why he's here, to remember his previous lifetimes and how that plays into this lifetime, to help him get to his awakening and ascension. And to kind of give him guidance directly from the oversoul, the universal one mind, as to how he can move forward in his life the most out of this experience.
I love it. So real quick, I
So-
want to ask you something. What tips do you have for people to help them on their awakening and their ascension so they can enjoy the 5D life? Because I'm all about that 5D life.
We could do a whole radio show on just the 5D life. I will say this about the starseeds, just really quickly. Starseed souls are what you would call alien souls, okay? But we're all aliens. We have all had experiences in the spirit world, in different planets, in different dimensions, in different parallel realities. We just don't remember it, okay? But starseeds, I've had clients who reach out to me and say, I have this weird light language that I need to know about. I don't know why. I come from a very religious family. And through hypnosis, all this information comes through. It's like they're talking a foreign language that they didn't know about. And now all of a sudden, through hypnosis, they understand the foreign language. And what that comes into play is when humanity gets to the point that they are a higher frequency and they can finally interact with different aliens in the physical, these star seeds who have awakened and gone their ascension and are bringing forth their gifts, these are what you would call ambassadors to different alien beings. So if we get to a point where we're interacting with a species that speaks in a certain tone or language, they had already have one of them that know their language incarnate as one of us. And that person had to go through their awakening and ascension to get to the level to be able to get to that reality, to talk to them. And then when we make that connection, that person, their life knowledge of this weird foreign light language or sound language now comes into play, because all that dialect they've been speaking that sounds like gibberish is actually an alien language that they brought forth with them in their incarnation. So they are ambassadors between Earth people and these different alien planets. And that's the transition into the golden age that brings humanity into an interstellar future.
Wow.
And there's so much more about that. I can go on with these different stories.
Dude, I could talk to you all day. I mean, it is unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Yeah. I can't wait to get you on my new podcast. It's going to be unbelievable. But do you have any any tips for people?
Yes, I do. And we can get more into these tips to get people. That's the good stuff, and that's like down the road.
Listen, you're going to be on the show a ton of times, so don't worry about that.
Sure, we haven't even talked about Bigfoot or anything else like that.
Oh my God! Now, is your husband into all this stuff that you're talking about? Is he really into interdimensional aliens, Bigfoot, space Jesus? Like, is he into all that stuff? Because I think it's wonderful.
Space Jesus. Yes. Yeshua. My husband has very traditional families and friends, and this is a little bit too far out for them sometimes. And so he's like, "Can you just not just don't mention Yeshua was a Buddhist monk, okay? You can just don't ruin the cocktail party." I'm like, "Okay, sure, no problem." But he knows about this, and sometimes I will have a client. He'll ask, "So what happened?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." And sometimes I'll tell him in the morning. He said, "Listen, I just woke up. I don't need calculus in the morning." Okay, my husband has seen enough weird things around my work that he doesn't question it anymore. He just kind of goes along with it. So
I love it.
So he'll just we'll be broken down on the side of the road, and I'll say, let's stop here. I want to go to the bathroom, and then somebody will have exactly what we need to fix the car sitting right there. On sale, and they're like,
I am perfect. All about learning this. I'm gonna get your books. What are your books one more time?
Okay, so the books are Buddhist Guide to Manifest Parallel Realities.
Yes.
Using the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Paths in the Age of Consciousness. And then the other one, this one, that one again is to kind of help you work on your abundance blocks, to address your repressed issues that's holding down your energy and keeping you into that third dimension. The other book is Buddhist Mandalas, Explore Parallel Realities with Sacred Geometry. And that one is a good framework for rewiring your consciousness to a fifth dimensional level. Through the study of sacred geometry or Metatron's cube. So you can find those on Amazon. Just look up Von Galt and you will find those two books and all my other books as well.
How many? Do you have books about brides?
I do. I'm actually a wedding florist on the side.
I'm like, who is this brides? What are we talking about here? I'm like, oh, there we go.
Yeah. I'm a wedding florist on the side. So I take I've done over 100 weddings, and it's my art too. It's my meditation. I love
Hey, dude, nothing wrong with that. Make that paper.
Yeah, I like to make bridal bouquets. And so I make them and then I drop them off at the wedding venues. And I love hearing everybody's stories of how they fell in love and, and everything else. But I wanted to answer your questions for everybody who's like, okay, so how do I get to my ascension? How do I get to my awakening? What are some quick little tips that you can give, you know, to work towards that? Because it's a process. So some takeaways for everyone who wants to learn or who wants to live and love living in the energy of the fifth dimension. There's a couple of basic things that you can start off with. First, list the issues that you have, the issues that keep coming up in your life. So if you keep having a crappy boyfriend, girlfriend, if you keep going to bad jobs, your car keeps breaking down all the time, whatever these issues are, what are the issues that you have with life? Write those down. And then look at your issues and see if you're looking at it because of conditioning. Is your perception of something based on conditioning that you just automatically inherited from your parents, from your culture, from your race? Okay, because if that is probably not a belief system, you probably don't believe that about other people. Okay, so look at your conditioning. And there's a lot of conditioning in religions as well. And religions aren't bad; they just need to be updated. So, go through your list of issues and see if some of that stuff is conditioning. And if it is, let that go. It doesn't serve you. Okay, you don't need to take on your grandparents' racist beliefs. Okay, all right. You're still going to be part of the family, okay? If you turn into a hippie, it's okay. The second thing is list all the people that piss you off, okay? All the people who wrong you, all right? Because you have anger about them and those issues that are holding down your energy, and let go of the anger that you have that they did that to you. Okay, just let go of the anger. The anger is lowering your frequency. It's holding you into third dimension, and it's preventing you from going to that galactic future. Another one is really easy. The takeaway is to meditate. Okay, and I'm going to demystify meditation. Meditation is anything that gets you to stop thinking about stuff, that monkey mind that's constantly thinking. When you get into a meditative state, whether the meditation is through making music, through art, through gardening, when you're doing those things that you love, or just hiking in the woods and exercising for some people, when you're doing those things, you're not thinking about all the things that you have to do. Okay, you're just thinking like I paint sometimes. So when I paint, I just think red, blue. I'm not thinking about all these different things that's going on in my mind. That's meditation. That's the frequency that you want to get into. And another way to send out that high energy of alpha or gamma waves, if you get to that point, is to be grateful. And they found this in meditation research that you had a bunch of monks and nuns who are meditating and reaching these high gamma wave frequencies that change their reality, and then you can have regular people list and be grateful for things and silver linings in their life, and they also radiate at gamma wave frequency. So if you make a list of the things that you're grateful for and see the silver linings in things, that can change your frequency as well.
I couldn't agree more. It's just so interesting listening to you saying all this stuff, because this is everything that is being taught to people in AA. This is all the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and 12-step programs. What you are talking about right now is everything that they teach people to deal with their drinking, drugs, and sex addiction. It really is amazing because it's sold as a Christian belief system, but in reality, it seems to be ancient knowledge and ancient spirituality.
Yeah. And then the last thing is just to enjoy nature. Get out in nature. Okay. Get out of the cement block cities that you're in. Okay.
Well,
Because that magnet of nature is going to connect, and you're going to transition to the fifth dimensional energy that's coming further into our reality in bucket loads much easier if you just are a little bit more respectful and tuning in with the energy of nature. So go for those walks. Take your family and your dogs, go for walks whenever you can. Get out of, I mean, if you live in an area you can't see a tree, you're really disconnected. So,
yes.
try to get out there into nature and connect with the magnetic of the earth. It's going to help you kind of clear your mind and clear your energy. So those are a couple quick takeaways. But we could do something on all of that in a different show, but those are a couple quick takeaways that could help you with this. I know we didn't really get into a lot of the other alien stuff.
No, Vaughn, you are going to get booked right back. We just got to figure out the internet connection situation so this doesn't happen on the next one. But overall, the episode is mind-blowingly awesome. You are always welcome back. I feel like I know you, and I would love to have more conversations about this, because these conversations I want people to hear, because it gives hope to what is going on.
Definitely. I will say this: when I do my regressions for my private hypnosis practice from my home, like right here, I always get the same message from the oversoul, the universal one mind in everybody. And so I put it into these couple phrases that I like to end everything with. And this is from the universal one mind that is inside everyone equally. And what the oversoul wants everyone to know, okay? No matter your incarnation, where you are in the world, whether you were born rich, poor, black, white, whatever, handicapped, not handicapped, what boy or girl, whatever incarnation you came into this reality as. The oversoul wants everyone to know that you've always been enough. Okay? Use the gifts and the resources all around you to create a life that you want to experience. A life full of joy and love. And the spirit world will nudge you along through synchronicity. Okay? You can do it.
Man, I needed to hear that. And Vaughn, for whatever reason, you came into my life and the powers that be canceled those other shows and you were able to come on, and I we're going to clean this up, and we're going to put it out and people are going to love it. And I'm so thankful that you came on. I literally just bought your book while we were talking. So it's being sent to me. I'm super excited to not only read your book, but talk to you more. And, you're a special person, and I'm very thankful.
You.
So, real quick, Vaughn, because I got to go pee really bad, to be honest with you. Can you please tell them where they can find you?
Yes, you can find everything on my website, merkabachakras.com. So, MER.
Can you email me that, and I'll make sure to put it in the
I think I already emailed it to you,
yeah.
But merkabachakras.com. And then you can also find me on Merkaba Chakras, QHHT on YouTube as well. But that website will have all the information there for you. So you can go down the rabbit hole.
Can you spell it for them, for those who are yelling at me about you stopping you from spelling it? I could already hear it. Well, dude, let her spell it. I won't find it.
Is it the Jewish version or is it the Hindu version? MERKABA chakras, like your 7 chakras, CHAKRAS.com. So merkabachakras.com.
Vaughn, thank you so much for coming on. You have blessed us with some wonderful knowledge and some hope in these very dark, crazy times. If people can take a step back and be like, it's just all a game.
It's all a game. Don't get caught in stories. And remember, not everybody is fit to go to the 5th dimension. They don't want to. So, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with the 3rd dimension. There's nothing wrong with third dimension. We're all living different parallel realities, and it's okay to explore it the way you want. And then the other thing is these are come up so that you can work on them and resolve them and get to the good stuff. So.
All right, Vaughn. Vaughn, I know I just met you, but I can tell you I love you very much. I appreciate you, coming on. You have great energy. Johnny, thank you so much for this. And, you know, Johnny's going to clean up and make us all look good. And thank you, Vaughn. And I will get you a date on the Zero podcast very soon. And I'm looking forward to this conversation, sister. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank your husband for watching your kids for us so you can join us today. And we will all see you soon, okay? Thank you so much. Take care.
Controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.